And now, from Louisville, Kentucky, the horse capital of the world and sports junkies' finest, giving you wagering advice and sports analysis. It's On the Switch with your host, Gino G.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to On the Switch Show. I'm your host, Gino G, talking part 2 Friday card at Pimlico, culminating in the Black-Eyed Susan 3-year-old fillies going 1 mile and 1/8, and we'll get to that here in just a little bit. We'll also have a late pick 4 ticket for you all to look at, possibly play. $300,000 guaranteed late pick 4, and we'll have a ticket for that. But first, we'll get to race 8, that being allowance 52,000 going 1 mile 1/16 on the turf. As mentioned before, we believe all of these races will be taken off the turf. I did land on the 2 holiday bonus, who will get my top selection in the spot. I think whether this is ran on turf or dirt, this will be my choice no matter what. Having been off for over 6 months, I think Grand Motion will have this one fresh for this spot. What's most interesting for me with this horse is the fact that he's so damn consistent. In 9 starts in 2017, only 3 times did he fail to break a 90 speed figure. 2 of those, of the 3, being 87s, so basically a 90. With the race rating of 93, anything from late 2017 today in this race is going to be impossible to top. I will say this with this horse: only one, count them, one lifetime win in 13 starts. Seems to like to run in the money, yet not get the money, so that's a little bit concerning, but we'll still keep this one on top. On the flip side of that, we can also say, with those speed figures being so high in all those races that this horse finished 2nd and 3rd, we can say, and quite literally, this horse has raced against much better than what she'll face today. So that is the 2 holiday bonus, who will get my top selection here in the 8th race. We also wanted to take a look at an absolute bomb. 30-1 on the line. I like the 13 Royal Crusader. Royal Crusader has been up against far weaker, and I understand that in this spot, but what caught my eye is the run 3 back at Laurel going 1 mile in the mud. Okay, we know it's going to be in the mud today. The 1 mile in the mud, 3 back. This one barely missed that day and received a 95 speed figure. So if perhaps our top selection, the 2, doesn't fire, a 95 speed figure in this contest, going to be super, super tough. This horse is 30-1. I believe this race could be a lot like that one, in which, talking about the one at Laurel, in which has to sit way out of it, will do his best running down the lane, as there will be a lot of top end speed in this race. At 31, as we mentioned, a horse who should break fine and get over quickly in a route race. I'll take my chances here with a bomb, that being the 13 Royal Crusader. I will also note with this horse, he's 1 for 2 over the wet main track. And again, as we mentioned before on a previous show, Laurel shippers run super well at Pimlico, and the trainer-jockey combo is 33% with a $19.77 ROI. That's pretty ridiculous. Lastly, I took a look at the 7 South Sea. I think South Sea has a chance in here. It's like a tongue twister. Coming off back-to-back thirds and only 2 starts this year, has the third off the layoff angle that we all love as handicappers. Trainer gets Irad to jump on, which is something to note, whilst they've also teamed up once already over the past 365 days, that being a winner in their only connection. The 98 speed figure at Tampa, March of 2017, is something to circle, because a performance of that magnitude will be more than good against this group. That being the 8th race, we did allowance 52K going 1 mile 1/16 on the turf. We did land on the 2 holiday bonus. We do like a bomb, the 13 Royal Crusader in this spot. We also take a look a little bit at the 7 South Sea. So that is 2, 13, 7 for us in the 8th. Race 9, starting to get into some stake races here, the latter stake races. Race 9 is the Pimlico Special Stakes, $300,000 purse, going 1 mile, 3/16 on the dirt. And it's going to be another single for us. This one is what I would call the best bet of the card, best bet of the day, possibly best bet of the weekend, and that is the 8, Something Awesome. At 5-1 morning line, this one has found its best here in 2018, with improving speed figures in every start this year, capped by the 116 he received in winning the Charlestown Classic. Now coming back in a month, second off the layoff, I actually think this one can improve, or at least repeat the performance of the Charlestown Classic last out. This one will also get a perfect trip, sitting right behind a lot of horses who will want to show speed. If this one shows the turn of foot from last out, we will be cashing big tickets, singling and putting this horse on top of all of our tickets. I will also note this on this horse. Knowing it's going to be an off track, this one has won 2 of 3 outings on off track, which will put this one over the top for us. That is the 8. Something Awesome, our best bet of the card on this Friday at Pimlico, 5-1 on the morning line. Race 10, Jim McKay Turf Sprint Stakes, $100,000 purse, going 5 furlongs on the turf. I landed on the 7, Hoagie. Hoagie's the one to beat and are going to be our top selection at 2-1 on the morning line. There are other horses who can dethrone this one, but for me, it's all about the consistency in which this one has shown race after race. Having not run a speed figure under 100 in 3 years, albeit being 9 years old, this one hasn't stopped running great races. Jose Ortiz on board again. This one should be super tough in this spot, and our top selection, that being the 7, Hoagie. At 10-1 on the morning line, I like the horse number 5, Vici. Vici for Ben Colebrook and Julian Leperoux definitely needs a look if perhaps this race is taken off the turf. Having had 100 plus speed figures in 9 of the last 10 races, this one has a big chance in here. I will key the race last out at Keeneland, an optional claimer $100K over the slop. This horse failed super late after leading the entire way and ran second, going a whole furlong further that day than we are today. So the small cutback in distance, reasonable jock aboard, there is no excuses why the 5, Vici, can't win today at 10-1. Lastly, I'll look at the number 1, Rocket Heat. Rocket Heat will be a horse that I'll use in pick 3s, pick 4s, and pick 5s. A horse that it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, yet they stick a 6-1 morning line on this one. I'll tell you this one seems to be overmatched as far as class, and I understand that. But the one thing that has caught my eye with this one is the fact that times and speed figures, for the most part, and most importantly, just make sense in this against this field. We'll obviously need to take a monster step forward to catch the money, but with only being 6-1, as we said on the morning line, which I think is quite far-fetched, I think everybody has an inclination that this one fits as we do here. So in race 10, the Jim McKay Turf Sprint Stakes, $100,000 purse, going 5 furlongs on the turf. I am going to make my top selection the 7, Hoagie, at 2-1. I like the 5, Vici, at 10-1, and the 1, Rocket Heat, at 6-1. So in the 10th, 7, 5, 1 for us. Race 11 is the one that we have all been waiting for. It's the Black-Eyed Susan Stakes, $250,000 purse, going 1 mile, 1/8 on the dirt. I really like this horse. The number 7, Good One Honey. Good One Honey hasn't done anything wrong in 2 career starts, winning both efforts impressively. What I like about this one is the fact she beat a pretty weak field in debut, that being 40,000 maiden claimers. Tries routing for the first time and absolutely demolishes the field at Laurel in a stakes event. Almost in a way making a mockery of the field that day. She pushed the sub 46 pace and then once grabbed the lead, stomped off. She will be my selection for the Black-Eyed Susan, in which I believe this one could even take another step forward and get the money at 5-1 morning line. I think you need to take a look at the number 4, Red Ruby. Red Ruby, impressive over the off-going at Oaklawn 2 back in a stakes race. This one gets the layoff needed after misfiring last out. I think this one could be really tough in here with the off-going of the track that we expect today. A 97 speed figure in that race in the mud, 2 back. I think if you run that race back, there's no reason why this horse won't be there in the end. I'll even say that I'll go on to say this. I will be baffled if the ending speed figure of the horse who wins the Black-Eyed Susan is higher than 97. Okay, so if perhaps this one can run back to the 97 speed figure of that day at Oaklawn, I'm telling you, Red Ruby is going to be right there as they cross the finish line. That's the 4, again, Red Ruby. Lastly, I took a look at the number 9, Sarah Street. She comes out of the Gazelle, only beaten a half length that day. Got some time off and is well spotted against this group of 3-year-old fillies. I also believe this race could easily set up well for this one. With no other first-tier stalkers, by that I mean there will be speed. Who is that one that's sitting right off of it or sitting towards the outside, close to the lead? That's going to be this one, Sarah Street. In this spot, she will get first run coming home. Well placed, well fitted, nice work tab since being off. Dylan Davis stays aboard. I will say this, in the races in which this one has faltered, Dylan Davis has moved way too early. If Dylan Davis can just be patient, I think he has the horse to get the job done today, and that is the 9, Sarah Street. So in race 11, the Black-Eyed Susan Stakes, $250,000 purse for 3-year-old fillies going 1 mile, 1/8 on the dirt. I landed on the 7, Good One Honey, as our top selection. The 4, Red Ruby, and the 9, Sarah Street all also need looks in the feature. Race 12, Hilltop Stakes going 1 mile on the turf. I like the number 2, Super Striking, who's 8-1 on the morning line and will get our top selection, knowing there's no chance this race stays on the turf. This filly had a 102 speed figure, 2 back at Gulfstream on the lawn, and that's the highest in this entire field. Knowing that this race is off the turf, we have to highlight the fact that this one has had a second place finish over the Laurel off-going in a maiden special weight event. With the fact that this one has had success on main track and highest speed figure in this field, 8-1, as we said on the morning line, will take a shot, although there's a really good chance the 3-5 horse scratches, and that means the 2, Super Striking, who we like, could become the overwhelming favorite because we'll fit the bid all the way across. I'll also take a look at the number 4, Jezzocat. Jezzocat at 10-1 on the morning line really needs, like I said, needs a big look here. A filly that just seems to find trouble in every single time she hits the track. We're looking for her to maybe create her own destiny with a good trip in the mud today. Again, at 10-1 on the morning line, having had success over main track before switching over to the turf, I think we need to take those efforts talking about on the conventional dirt into consideration today. Although this one definitely needs to improve, the fact that others have had such little success on the main track makes this one even more attractive at the 10-1 price. So I like the 4, Jezzocat. Lastly, just in case this race does stay on the turf and this horse does stay in the field, it's going to be the 8, The Way I Am. The Way I Am is the obvious choice and the obvious horse to beat here at 3-5 on the morning line. If running and move to the main track, I don't know how I feel about this one. Although this one does have the best average speed figures, has back class to rely on, and has beaten much better than this field before. Obviously, as we said, will be the obvious choice at a really, really short price if we stay on the turf, which I don't believe will be the case. But if so, you have to include the 8, The Way I Am, the French runner at 3-5 on the morning line. Race 12, Hilltop Stakes going 1 mile on the turf. I like The 2, Super Striking, as our top selection at 8-1. The 4, Jezzacat at 10-1. Then the 8, the 3-5, overwhelming favorite in third. Race 13, the Allaire DuPont Distaff Stakes, Grade 3, $150,000 purse, going 1 mile, 1/8 on the dirt. I really like the 7 Blue Prize from Argentine. 2-1 on the line will get the nod for us here. Having beaten Verve's Tale last out at Aqueduct, this one just keeps showing up. I honestly think you can throw out the race at Oaklawn Park. This one was hot, sweaty, and the outside draw, and then also running outside. That day at Oaklawn, outside was completely dead, had no chance whatsoever. If you throw that race out, and this one is the best horse in here in my opinion, and gets our selection. Also note this horse is 5 for 5 hitting the board at this particular distance, 3 for 3 hitting the board with a win on the off-going. So again, horse loves distance, loves the off-going. We'll get our pick here as our top selection. That is the 7 Blue Prize, 2-1 on the morning line. Next, I took a look at the number 5 Song of Spring. Song of Spring could be a stretch in this spot. Gets one of the softer stakes fields you'll see with non-winning Verve's Tale and the off-on of Blue Prize. Why I say non-winning Verve's Tale, if you look at Verve's Tale past performances, where's the last win? Still waiting. And still waiting. The fact Verve's Tale just loves to run second, third, or worse is extremely concerning to me at 9-5 on the morning line. Blue Prize seems to run a big race, then falter. Run a big race, then falter. Last out, ran a big race. If perhaps Verve's Tale does run second or third, and Blue Prize just does not fire, I think the 5 Song of Spring could be there. If perhaps the favorites both misfire, this one's steady progression this year in accordance to speed figures fits decently well against this group. We'll obviously need some help, again, as we said, with the favorites. And I think still, with that being said, we'll need to improve. But if perhaps those two things go together, this one could surprise everybody. And if perhaps you have this on your ticket and you beat the 2 favorites, could pay off huge when it comes to pick 4s and pick 5s. So that is the 5 Song of Spring. I do not like Verve's Tale in this spot. I know it's going to be an obvious choice against a weaker field, but the fact that this horse just loves running second and third, I just can't get on board with that one. So I'm sticking with 2 horses and 2 horses only. Race 13, the Allaire DuPont Distaff Stakes, Grade 3, $150,000 purse, going 1 mile, 1/8 on the dirt. I stuck with the 7 Blue Prize, the Argentine, as our top selection, followed with the 5 Song of Spring. That is 7-5 in the 13th. Race 14 is back to Allowance Company, $52,000, going 5 furlongs on the turf course. I landed on the 9 Magical. Magical will be really tough in this spot. Magical has tactical speed, but will sit right off the Blazers that will go out super quick. This one has a better speed figure, time, and just the way she won last out seems 100 times better to me than the morning line favorite, that being the 1A, who we'll get to in a little bit. Back to the actual race setup, this one will sit pretty off the extreme speed and will get first run. Sheldon knows this horse, and trainer doesn't lose very often, if ever. So this will be our top selection, that being the 9 Magical. Number 12, Line of Music, will be a horse I take a look at in here as well. Although coming from far outside, there's enough speed to this one's inside that she should be able to get right over to the rail, if not close to the rail, fairly easily and get a really good trip, all by most likely being way, way back early, and will be storming home when they get to the lane. Will have to be much the best, but the progressing speed figure, which includes an 83 last out, fits against this field, and if perhaps we find a super horse this day, the 12 could be there and could be a big price. That is the 12 Line of Music. As mentioned previously, the 1A, a great time will 99% of the time be scratched in this spot. Reason being, once they take this race off the turf, I don't believe there's any chance this horse ever runs on the conventional dirt, although in the mud, which really shouldn't affect this horse at all. But if perhaps we do stay on the turf somehow, this one just makes a whole lot of sense. The 96 speed figure 2 back, albeit on the turf, which again, if we are running, it's just going to absolutely destroy this field. If perhaps, again, if we run on the turf, the 1A should just stomp off and win for fun. That is the 1A, great time, who I think is going to be scratched, like I said, 99% of the time. But just in case they don't, we'll definitely have to include that one. So race 14, the last race of the day on the Friday card at Pimlico, that being Black-Eyed Susan Day. Race 14, allowance 52,000 runners going 5 furlongs on the turf. I landed on the 9 Magical, the 12 Line of Music in second, and the 1A, a great time, in third. When talking previously about the late pick 4, $300,000 guaranteed starting in race 11, that being the Black-Eyed Susan, I did come up with a ticket, an $84 ticket, although I do believe there will be a lot of scratches in the very last race in which we hit the all button. So I do think it's going to be a whole lot cheaper than $84, but a 50-cent pick 4 play, this is what we have. Starting in race 11, the Black-Eyed Susan, we're going to go with the 4-7. Race 12, we'll take the 2-4-8. Race 13, we'll go 5-7. And then we'll hit the all button in the last leg, that being the 14th. So again, 50-cent play, pick 4, starting in race 11, the Black-Eyed Susan, $84 play, 4-7 with 2-4-8 with 5-7 with all. Again, $84. I'm so excited about this weekend, this being Preakness weekend. I always love Oaks Day when it comes to Derby weekend. I love Black-Eyed Susan Day. I think all these races give lots of value. There's lots of chances to make money. Although it's going to be a complete washout, it should be a whole lot of fun. We'll have a bunch of tickets. Please, I beg you, if you haven't subscribed already, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? Go to iTunes, go to SoundCloud, go to Google Play, Stitcher, on and on and on. The only 2 platforms that we're not on is iHeartRadio and Spotify, which will be coming soon. So please subscribe to us. Get at us on Instagram at On The Switch Show. You can also follow us on Twitter at On The Switch 1. You can contact myself on Twitter at DeVilleKY32. You can get our back end guy, the one that holds it all together. His name's Travis T, at Travis, the number 2, and then the letter L. If perhaps you like emailing, you can email the actual show On The Switch at ontheswitchshow@gmail.com. You can email myself personally at gfgreasehaber, that being GRIESHAB as in boy ER @gmail.com. I urge everybody, if you're not on our email route, there will be plenty of tickets and plenty of plays that I will have up on our email route. So please get at us on any platform whatsoever. Reach out to us. We would love to put you on the email route. And again, if you are playing Friday, Pimlico, Black-Eyed Susan Day, I wish you all the best of luck and have all your tickets be cashes.
On the Switch.